Hello and welcome back to the Honourous Debate and to another edition of AEW Collision Out of 10. And yeah, it's a big episode of Collision today. We've got some huge matches on the show, including John Moxley versus Daniel Garcia, Konosuke Takeshita versus Mark Briscoe, and we also heard from Carl Fletcher and Don Callis and FTR in action as well as the Women's World Champion Timeless Tony Storm. But to kick things off, we saw Marina Shafir accompany Moxley to the ring for his match against Danny Garcia. She gave him a good smack backstage to get him ready. The submission specialist backed Mox to the corner and forced him to use the ropes to force a break. The leader of the Death Riders didn't look intimidated, however, it looked more like he was trying to agonise Garcia into losing his cool. It took a bit before Garcia finally started unloading after being kicked in the back, but all he did was fire Mox up even more. It seemed like he was trying to make Garcia ever get himself disqualified or improve himself by beating him one-on-one. When Garcia was down at ringside, Shafir surprisingly helped him to his feet without attacking him. When we returned from a break, Red Death had taken control and hit a pole drive on the apron as the crowd cheered him on. The chemistry these two had built up allowed them to put a hard-fought battle that made them feel unpredictable than their previous encounters. This was their only fourth singles bout in 4 years, but it was easily the best. They were given a lot of time and used every bit of it effectively. Unfortunately for Garcia, it ended Mox getting the win with a pinning combination, but Garcia looked really disappointed himself when he went over. So yeah, kind of teasing future stuff between them. I thought this worked really well. Like I said, this was really good and gets an 8 out of 10 from me. Dax and Cash then took on the returning Tommy Billington and a man who's been getting more opportunities in AEW and RH lately, Adam Priest. And yeah, Billington suffered a shoulder injury shortly after signing with AEW, so great to see him back. Wheeler and Priest began sizing each other up before locking up. They had a brief exchange before tagging in their partners. Harwood used his size to throw Tommy around. While Priest and Billington got in a decent amount of offense, FTR were definitely controlling the pace when we returned from the break and New Joe started going on a roll. Priest and Billington made a fun challenge for FTR while they had the upper hand. It never really felt like they were going to win. It was a solid match. It was a simple splash from the top rope to get them the win. But yeah, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. Probably exceeded my expectations in all fairness. The Triangle of Madness then teamed up with Megan Bain to take on Tony Storm, Mina Shirakawa, Chris Statlander and Harley Cameron. Everyone's banned from ringside, but Yuta showed up and tried to give stats and advice before the match started. Thackler went right after Storm as soon as the bell rang. This was back and forth, but the heels definitely had the advantage more often than not. When we went for a break, Bain was dominating the champ. When we returned, the faces were building some momentum. Storm was suplexing woman left, right and centre. Well, Cameron and Stat almost got the win with a double team move to blue, but Hart broke up the pin. Hart almost won for her team with an octopus stretch, but Stat escaped and used a pinning combination to get the free. This was a high energy match with some fun moments, but it also had a little too much chaos too. The heels dismantled the faces after the match was over until Hayter showed up to drive them off. Yeah, 6 out of 10, a solid match, and I think intriguing little different storylines there too. Before we saw Carl Fletcher, we came out with the Don Callis family and Josh Alexander. He put over Fletcher as being Omega and Hangman Page levels. Fletcher declared his intention to become double world champion and called out Hangman Page for All Out. Didn't expect that for All Out, but yes please, that is going to be a very juicy match and I cannot wait for it already. We then moved on to Konosuke Takeshita versus Mark Briscoe. Callis stayed at ringside to join the commentary team for this match. They stayed out with wrist exchange and counters before they picked up the pace a bit. Big Takeshita got a little frustrated and shoved Briscoe a bit before they locked up again. We returned from a break to see Takeshita firmly in control. He slammed Briscoe on the apron and grounded him in a submission, but the chicken got to the feet and began fighting back. Both of these guys had their own style, but they were also so versatile they were able to find their rhythm quickly. Takeshita has had an incredible year and it feels like every match he's one of the best in the world right now. They fought for a second break and we returned to see Briscoe beginning to make a comeback. The last selection of this bout was the best. Both guys put on a good spots and came close to winning before MJF showed up and interfered to cost Briscoe the match. MJF got married on Friday, so a lot of people were surprised seeing. He gave a confrontation with Takeshita, but Callis tried to make peace. The show ended with MJF issuing a challenge for any kind of match Briscoe wants. Yeah, shocking ending, didn't see it coming, but I think the interference was unexpected, so in a way it's a good one. It was a good one, but also would have loved to see a finish here as well. So yeah, I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. Mixed feelings, but I also think the MJF Briscoe grudge match is going to be really good, and yeah, we can save this match further for down the line, so I'll give it a 6 out of 10. Overall, Collision gets an 8 out of 10 from me. This was a solid Collision, probably one of the strongest in a while. Only having 4 matches allowed for each to stand out in a different way. Nothing felt rushed and every segment mattered. I thought Garcia and Moxley stole the show, but I thought, throughout the action all the way through was pretty enjoyable. So yeah, on the whole, a really strong episode of Collision. Hey guys, that's it for this video. Thanks very much for watching. Remember to like, share, subscribe. Follow us on our socials, link in the description below for daily wrestling news, meme and content. Subscribe to our other channels on screen right now, that'd be greatly appreciated. Thanks very much for watching. Peace out.